If the grid went down tonight, how long could you actually last? Be honest. Because 1 in 3 Americans can't go 3 days without restocking food. Over 70% of us live paycheck to paycheck, and the average household has just 3 days of water at most. Meanwhile, grocery prices are up 28% since 2020. Blackouts are hitting harder and more often, and nearly half of U.S. power outages in the past 2 years were caused by grid overload or extreme weather. This isn't a doomsday fantasy. It's already happening. The system is stretched thin and it's not bouncing back, it's breaking down in real time. That's why I'm not waiting. I'm buying these 5 things every single week, because when the system slips, I don't want to be caught begging for basics. Neither should you. Let's start with number 5. Item number 5. Canned protein, the silent powerhouse. Nobody's buying enough of. Most people stroll past the canned meat aisle like it's holding radioactive sludge. But that aisle, that's where your survival muscle lives. I'm not just talking about a few dusty tuna cans. I mean real shelf-stable protein. Canned chicken, turkey, beef, chili, sardines, mackerel, even Spam. Because when the grid snaps, the trucks stop rolling, and grocery shelves get stripped in under 12 hours, as they did in Buffalo during the 2022 snowstorm. What's going to rebuild your body? Not rice, not beans, not pasta. You need amino acids. You need fat. You need fuel your body recognizes as repair material. And that's exactly what canned protein delivers. Let's talk shelf life. These aren't flimsy, good for a few months items. Properly stored canned meats can last 3 to 5 years past the printed expiration date, sometimes even longer if kept below 75 degrees. According to a 2012 USDA study, canned meat stored for over a decade remained nutritionally intact, with protein and fat content nearly identical to fresh. Think about that. In a society obsessed with fresh, you're hoarding food that might outlive your mortgage. But here's the kicker. Most American households only have about 2 to 3 days worth of protein on hand. That's a starvation timeline. Your body needs at least 50 grams of protein daily just to maintain basic functions. And when stress hits, that number spikes. Canned meats offer 15-20 gallons per serving, meaning you could feed a family of 4 for days off a 12-pack stash if you ration smartly. Now let's talk economics. While inflation hit fresh meat prices hard, beef up 9.6%, chicken up 13% year over year, canned meat has remained surprisingly stable. Why? It's not sexy. It's not organic, free-range, blah blah. But it's there. Available, affordable, underappreciated. While America panicked about eggs and toilet paper, preppers were quietly grabbing 5 to 10 cans a week every week, building a protein moat around their pantries, because when the system buckles, it won't be the guy with a half-pound of grass-fed Rebay who makes it. It'll be the woman with 40 cans of Hormel chili and a solar oven. One heats you for an hour, the other sustains you for months. And don't forget versatility. You can eat canned protein cold if you have to. No fire, no stove, no electricity. Just open, scoop, and eat. In a world where cooking becomes a privilege, that's power. Mix with rice. You've got a complete meal. Add to soup. You've doubled your calories and nutrients. These are the multipliers that keep morale and muscles high when the grid collapses and rationing becomes a grim daily ritual. So I'm telling you now, canned protein is not a just-in-case luxury. It's a non-negotiable muscle builder, morale booster, and long-term fuel source. And every single week I'm buying more. Because when meat becomes black market gold, I don't want to trade for it. I want to own the mine. Item number 4. Toilet paper is a joke, by calcium hypochlorite. Instead, you think you're ready because you've got 200 rolls of toilet paper? Cute. But when your well stops pumping, your water treatment plant fails, and your local reservoir turns into a mosquito hatchery, you'll wish you had something way more powerful. Calcium hypochlorite, also known as pool shock. Not sexy, not trending, but it's the single most underrated survival item in America right now. And I'm buying it every week, without fail. Let me break this down. While bottled water disappears from shelves within hours during an emergency, the ability to make safe water, that's what real preppers focus on. Calcium hypochlorite is the key. A single 1-pound bag of this powder can purify up to 10,000 gallons of water when used correctly. Do the math. At FEMA's minimum 1 gallon per person per day, that's 27 years of water for one person. Yet it costs under $30, stores for 10 plus years in a cool, dry place, and fits in your glove box. No batteries, no filters to replace, no fragile ceramic cartridges, just raw, industrial-grade power. And if you're still skeptical, consider this. During Hurricane Ian, boil water notices affected over 2.5 million people across Florida. Boil water, but with what? When the power's out. When your propane's gone. That's when the people with bleach or iodine tabs start rationing like it's liquid gold. But calcium hypochlorite? Just mix a few granules into a gallon of water, let it dissolve, and boom! You've created a disinfecting chlorine solution that rivals municipal systems. Use that to treat other water. It's what the Red Cross recommends for disaster zones worldwide. But in America, nobody's talking about it. They're too busy hoarding wipes. Here's a truth no one wants to say out loud. In any long-term collapse, diarrhea is a killer. Dehydration from contaminated water isn't just miserable, it's fatal. That's why clean water isn't a luxury, it's a life extension. And unlike bulky gallons or fragile filters, this powder, scales, a teaspoon can save an entire neighborhood, if they don't try to rob you first. So yeah, laugh now at the guy buying Pool Shock every week while others grab chips and soda. But when the taps go dry and the boil notice hits, I won't be in line. I'll be distributing gallons to my community, safely, quietly, and with confidence, because this stuff doesn't just clean water, it cleans chaos. And when the world goes sideways, that's worth more than any luxury. Item number 3. Lighters, matches, and fuel, because darkness is only romantic until it starves you or gets you killed. You don't think about fire until the cold sets in. The stove won't light, and your battery-powered everything turns into dead weight. But here's the American blind spot. We've become so electrically pampered that most people can't even start a fire anymore without YouTube. And when the blackout hits, YouTube won't be there. So I'm telling you, every single week without fail I'm buying lighters, waterproof matches, fire cubes, candles, and propane canisters, because in a real crisis, fire isn't ambiance. It's heat, food, light, security, and psychology, all in one spark. Let's talk supply chains. Bic lighters are still cheap, under $1. But here's what nobody's clocking. Global butane production is quietly tightening. In 2023, U.S. domestic butane stocks dropped 15% year over year. And while no one's sounding the alarm, preppers already see the writing on the wall. Lighters are still stocked today because no one's panicked, yet. But the moment people realize their gas stoves are useless without electric ignition, those shelves will evaporate. And matches? Half of America doesn't even own a box anymore. They'll be gone in a single news cycle. Fire is the oldest survival tech, and still the most powerful. During the 2021 Texas freeze, over 200 people died, many of them in homes, not stranded in cars, not lost in woods, in their homes. Why? No power, no heat, no backup. Meanwhile, people with nothing more than fire bricks and isopropyl alcohol stoves were boiling soup and staying alive. Fire melts snow into water. Fire cooks bacteria out of food. Fire makes an abandoned structure a survivable shelter. And fire, let's not sugarcoat this, keeps animals and desperate people away. The sight of flame changes how predators calculate risk. And you don't just need the flame. You need redundancy. I buy 5 Bic lighters a week, not because I'm planning to smoke, but because I plan to trade. In Venezuela, during their rolling blackouts, lighters became black market currency. People would trade rice for a spark. Matches in sealed waterproof containers? Gold. In Bosnia, homemade alcohol stoves saved entire families. Fire cubes and sterno cans. They've got a shelf life of years and can boil water in 5 minutes flat. A $3 investment now buys you life insurance later. Here's the twist. You also need to practice. Try lighting a fire in 20-mile-an-hour wind with cold hands and a shaking flashlight. It's not a movie scene. It's real-world chaos. So I stage fire tools across the house, in bug-out bags, glove boxes, sheds, and bedroom drawers. Because when one area floods or burns, the others still give me a chance. I've got a candle in my nightstand, and a magnesium striker in my sock drawer. Weird? Maybe. Alive? Absolutely. If you wait to panic buy fire-starting gear, you've already lost. Every week I buy more, because if I ever have to cook in a snowstorm, melt snow, warm a room, signal for help, or hold the darkness at bay for just one more night. I want to know I have fire on tap. And so should you. Item number 2. OTC medications, because the pharmacy will become a graveyard. First, this one. It doesn't hit you until the fever spikes, the wound won't clot, or your kid's got a cough that won't quit and the nearest open pharmacy is 48 miles away, closed, looted, or burned. I'm talking ibuprofen, acetaminophen, antidiarrheals, antihistamines, aspirin, antibiotic ointments, iodine, gauze, burn cream, cold meds, and every generic bottle that sits ignored until you desperately need it. This is the silent prep, the one most people never stock. Because in our coddled American minds, CVS will always be open. The pharmacist will always be there. The supply chain will always run like Amazon Prime. Except that's a delusion. In 2022, the U.S. experienced a shortage of over 300 critical medications, including children's Tylenol. That's before any large-scale disaster or grid failure. Now imagine what happens when 911 doesn't pick up. Your hospital runs on emergency generators, and the nearest EMT is rationing morphine from a mobile triage tent. If you think a blackout is scary, try one with a 103-degree fever and no medicine. The human body can spiral into shock or seizure in hours. Diarrhea, untreated, can kill a child in 48 hours. No power means no fridges, meaning insulin, antibiotics, and injectable meds spoil rapidly. The CDC already warns that more than 50% of Americans rely on at least one prescription medication daily. What happens when the trucks stop? What happens when looters hit the drugstores first, not last? But here's the twist. The shelf life myth is a lie. Most over-the-counter meds retain 90% effectiveness for years after expiration. The Department of Defense's own shelf life extension program showed drugs like ciprofloxacin, naproxen, and even nitroglycerin remained potent a decade past their printed date. That means your $4 bottle of aspirin? It could be your lifeline in 2035, but only if you bought it today. Every week I restock painkillers, allergy meds, electrolyte powders, antacids, eye drops, medical tape, because I don't want to be the one tearing through abandoned first aid kits while someone I love is coughing blood into a pillow. If you can't stabilize infection, reduce inflammation, lower fevers, or stop vomiting in a crisis, you're not roughing it. You're watching life drain in real time. And don't forget morale. A single Advil in a migraine, a single Benadryl in an allergic reaction. That's not comfort. That's control. That's being the one who steps up when everyone else is helpless. OTC meds aren't optional. They're medical sovereignty in a system that can collapse in hours. And when it does, I want a pharmacy in my closet, not regret in my gut. Item number 1. Cash, because digital dollars turn into dust during collapse. You might laugh, but listen carefully. Cash is king when the grid fails. I'm not talking about fantasy crypto coins or your Venmo balance, or whether Chase is FDIC insured. I'm talking about physical bills, 10s, 20s, 5s, and singles. Real U.S. currency you can hold, stash, trade, hide, and use when the lights go out and the ATMs spit out error codes. Because here's what 99% of Americans don't realize. Money only exists because the system works. When the system doesn't, your debit card becomes a piece of plastic and your online balance is a fairy tale. After Hurricane Katrina, power outages left entire regions without access to digital banking. Stores that still had goods moved to cash-only operations overnight. Gas stations, cash only. Lodging, cash. Food. You either paid in bills or walked away hungry. And guess what? ATMs were empty within hours. In Venezuela, hyperinflation made cash worthless. But before that point, it was the only way people could access black market food and medicine while government rations collapsed. During the 2003 Northeast blackout, even Manhattan went cash only for 48 hours. If the most wired city on earth can get knocked into paper money mode, anywhere can. Here's what I do. Every week I take out a small amount in mixed denominations. 1s, 5s, 10s, and 20s, not hundreds, not gold coins, trade denominations. Because in crisis, nobody's breaking a $100 bill. They're trading for water jugs, propane canisters, or a half-gallon of gas. The guy selling tampons from his trunk isn't swiping your credit card. He wants 5s. The woman cooking hot soup over a barrel fire? She'll take 1s. And don't forget privacy. In a full surveillance economy, cash is the last anonymous transaction. No digital fingerprint, No bank freeze, no questions asked. And if the banking system freezes assets, like it did in Cyprus in 2013 or Canada in 2022 during the trucker protests, your money becomes a hostage. The FDIC has $128 billion in reserve to cover $19 trillion in deposits. Do the math. You are not covered. I stash my cash in blackout containers, bug-out bags, vehicle panels, coat linings, because when panic hits and people are scrambling to barter a gallon of milk for a $50 pair of sneakers, I want mobility. I want leverage. I want to walk up, drop $10, and leave with goods before chaos erupts. So no, I'm not hoarding cash because I'm paranoid. I'm hoarding cash because I'm not stupid. The power goes out. You'll watch the value of your digital wealth disintegrate in real time. Meanwhile, the guy with a $20 bill will still be able to eat. That's not fear. That's reality. And it's coming. That's 5. Not 5 luxuries. Not 5 prepper fantasy items. Just 5 things I'm buying every single week because the cracks in America aren't theoretical anymore. They're visible. You've seen the empty shelves. You've felt the inflation. You've watched cities struggle to keep water clean, power running, and streets safe. And if you're still thinking, maybe it'll get better, I've got bad news. Hope is not a strategy. The price of waiting is watching someone you love suffer because you didn't grab one more can, one more lighter, one more gallon, one more box of meds when they were still available. Look, this isn't about panic. This is about math. Food production is down. Weather disasters are up. Energy grids are crumbling, and 93% of Americans have zero backup plan. That's not prepping. That's just common sense now. So no, I'm not saying buy everything at once. I'm saying pick 1 or 2 of these each week. Start small. Stay consistent. Build quietly. Because when the next wave hits, and it won't be the loudest or the richest who make it through. It'll be the ones who moved early, moved smart, and didn't wait for permission. You've already got the plan. Now start executing it. 1 cart, 1 trip, 1 week at a time. And if you're ready for part 2, I've got 5 more things I never skip. Because this isn't just a list. It's a blueprint for staying in control when the system finally runs out of second chances. Stay ready.